Nippon Hoso Podcast Station.
Today we're diving into Slam Dunk. Quite literally, we're diving into Slam Dunk. So the line we're diving deep into today is 最後まで希望を捨てちゃあいかん。諦めたらそこで試合終了だよ。So in English, until the very end, do not give up hope. If you give up, that's when the game is over. Nasty snow. So snow in Tokyo is very nasty. 日本の方ってあんまりなんか the 使いはないがちな気がします。みんななんか the って言ってるんですけど、はい、the もめちゃくちゃポピュラーなので、使い分けできたらもっと英語ネイティブになるので頑張ってください。Anime English Club with Sally Amaki.Hello and welcome to episode 45 of the Anime English Club. I'm your host, Sally Amaki. 今週もよろしくお願いします。Guys, it barely ever snows in Tokyo, but I think the third time this year, it finally snowed. And the first two times in 2026, it actually wasn't heavy snow, so we didn't really have enough to make any snowmans out in the streets. But today, it is currently, February 9th? Today, it snowed February 8th, but yeah, we had enough snow to make a tiny snowman. So because we barely get any snow in Tokyo, the second we got snow, people were making like little mountains and they were like sliding off with their sleds, but we didn't have enough snow to do that. People were just like gathering snow from random places off the streets. Nasty snow, by the way. Nasty っていうのは本当ちっちゃい「つ」入ってる汚いって感じ。nasty snow. So snow in Tokyo is very nasty. And it's very fluffy. なんかサラサラしてますよね。なんか yeah, like it's not enough to make a snowman, but we try anyway because we don't get enough snow. But anyway, that's that. And so it's super cold. You would think it would be the coldest during December, like, you know, the midst of winter, but Tokyo actually is the coldest during February and a bit of March, maybe. 2月が一番寒いですよね、なんか日本って。Yeah, so February is the coldest. So anytime you guys come to Japan, keep that in mind. But anyway, without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Today, we're diving into Slam Dunk. Quite literally, we're diving into Slam Dunk. So Slam Dunk is a manga series about basketball, written and illustrated by Takehiko Inoue. It began serialization in Weekly Shonen Jump in 1990 and was adapted into a TV anime in 1993. In 2022, a brand new movie written and directed by the original author, the first Slam Dunk, was released, becoming a huge topic both in Japan and internationally.With over 107 million copies in circulation, it is considered a monumental work in basketball manga and is still loved by many fans today. So let me first explain what the story is about. The story follows Hanamichi Sakuragi, a delinquent with a history of being rejected by 50 girls in a row right after he starts high school. However, after falling for his classmate Haruko Akagi at first sight, he joins the basketball team. Although he initially joined for love, through meeting his teammates, he gradually becomes serious about aiming for victory. The series depicts the passionate coming-of-age story and growth of the Shohoku High School basketball team. Hi. 1990?Really? Oh, so it started before I was born. I don't know why I have so much memory of Slam Dunk. Maybe it's because my dad was watching it when I was a child. But I remember, I don't know if this is a correct statement, but my college professor, I took one of the classes called Animation History. And our professor said that Slam Dunk actually, I don't know, was...I mean, なんて言えばいいんだろう。Slam Dunk is what shaped sports anime as it is right now. So, you know, the first graders being super strong and stuff. I feel like you see that a lot in sports anime these days. But according to my professor, Slam Dunk was what started it. Do you guys think that's true? なんかそう大学の教授がアニメーションヒストリーっていう授業を取ってたんですけど、その教授が言ってたんですよ。スラムダンクがなんか今のスポーツアニメの塾だったみたいな。はい。これで言うと花より団子も今のなんかその三角関係のを初めてなんかその塾が花より団子とも言ってました。なんかそうこれ間違ってたら私が大学で取ったアニメーションヒストリーというお金払って取ったクラスが嘘ってことになるんですけど、いやでもちょっと信憑性ないんですよ。なんか先生なんか適当なことばっか言ってた記憶があるのでちょっとなんか親みたいな感じに思うことをなんか本当先生なのでしかもアニメ好きじゃない先生なんですよ。So my professor, the teacher for animation studies, she wasn't really an anime fan, but she was teaching that class. So like, I don't know, oftentimes she would say things that was pretty questionable as an anime fan myself. So I don't know if her statement is true, but apparently Slam Dunk is what shaped sports anime for today. But don't quote me. That I'm just quoting my professor, okay? Do not quote me. This is not from me. これ前も言いましたっけ ?Do not quote me って。don't quote me は自分のその自信ないことを言ったときに、私が言ったって言わないでね。quote っていうのは、これ、quote。誰かが言ったこと、レポートとかに書くときも、誰々、何々何と偉大の方々が言っていましたみたいな書き方するじゃないですか。私にクレジットを、くれなくて大丈夫ですって。なんなら、渡さないでくださいみたいな。はい。私のせいにしないでみたいな感じの時に、なんかちょっと自信ない時に、don't quote me on this とか、don't quote me って言います。ぜひ使ってください。はい。But anyway, let's go into today's phrase. So the line we're diving deep into today is 最後まで希望を捨てちゃいかん。諦めたらそこで試合終了だよ。So in English, until the very end, do not give up hope. If you give up, that's when the game is over. So this line is from episode 26, and it's one of the most famous phrases in the series. These are the words from Coach Anzai. It's said to Hisashi Mitsui, who was a junior high school student at the time. And the scene is the final of the prefectural junior high tournament, where Mitsui's team, Takeishi Junior High, is losing by 1 point. Mitsui intercepts a pass and dives for the ball with sheer determination, but it goes out of bounds. With little time left, Mitsui is about to give up. That's when Coach Anzai hands him the retrieved ball and says this famous line. After that, Takeishi Junior High, led by Mitsui, goes on to win the game and the prefectural championship. This event also becomes the reason why Mitsui decides to enroll in Shohoku High School, where Coach Anzai is. So I said it's one of the most famous phrases in the series. It's actually one of the most famous phrases in Japan. You can quote me on this. I feel like people who have never even watched this series says this quote a lot. Whenever they're about to give up, they're always like, 諦めたらそこで試合終了だよ. And I'm like, do you even know what episode it's from? Like, I'm pretty sure 90% of the people who use this haven't even watched the series, but it's that popular. Wait, is this the scene where the background is like super sparkly? めっちゃキラキラしてるシーンですね、ここなんか。ですよね。そうなんですよ。ここ裏めっちゃキラキラしてるんですよ。Everything is so sparkly. キラキラ、sparkly. はい。So, yeah, it's a very memorable scene. It's said by Coach Anzai. はい。So let's break down some vocabs. Number 1. Until the very end. So you could have just said until the end, but if you put very, it pretty much like emphasizes the end, you know, until the very end, or like until the very moment とか、なんだろう、本当に最後の最後のその瞬間までとか、なんか本当に何か強調したいときに very ってつけますね。だからここにwe have an example right here. This is the very book I was looking for. So by saying this, it means like this is the exact book I was looking for. この場合 very でも exact でも使えるんですけども、本当にこの本を探していましたみたいな、もうこれみたいな、これ強調したい時にもう本当に正真正銘この本ですみたいなはい の時に very を使ってください。結構使う瞬間あると思います。I feel like there's a lot of scenarios that you can use it in. So until the very moment, the very book, very moment, very end. でも very end が一番なんか使うのは聞くかもしれませんね。はい。でも強調するときに使ってください。Next, do not. So this usually when you're speaking normally, do not would be shortened to don't. But the 素晴らしさって英語でなんて言えばいいんだろう。A significance. The significance of actually not shortening do not, and saying do not, and emphasizing every single word. なんだろう。It's to emphasize. ちょっと自分が今何て言うかわかんない。It's to like emphasize what you're trying to say. So whenever you're talking, if you want to emphasize every single word and you want to get to the person's mind or heart, you wouldn't really shorten anything. So for instance, if you're a little child and your mom or dad gets mad at you and you do something that you're not supposed to do, instead of saying don't do that, they'd be like, do not do that. Like they emphasize every single word. 日本語だったらもう分かったそれをするんじゃありませんみたいなちょっとなんか間入れるじゃないですか。その間がなんだろう do not don't のなんかあえて don't じゃなくて do not って使うのが結構そこのニュアンスに入りますね。 do not だから安西先生がもう本当にこれきっと強調したかったんでしょうね、英語の安西先生は本当にもう諦めるなよとかなんかそこで試合終了だぞみたいな感じのなんか先生としての立ち位置なんか地位があるなんか偉大な方が言ってるからなんか意味があるみたいな感じがしますね。 do not だからなんだろう where else can I use it? do not if you watch a very traumatizing series, for instance Madomagi or Banana Fish, if you are not in the right state of mind, I do not recommend watching Madomagi or Banana Fish because it would ruin you in a good way. But yeah, when you want to emphasize like I said, do not watch Madomagi or Banana Fish if you are feeling down because it will ruin you. You can use it like that as well. How else would I use it? Oh, okay, so you invite your friends over to your house, but you haven't told them that you are an otaku yet, but your room is full of posters, like bishoujo character figures and everything, but you do not want anybody to go into your room because you still want to keep it a secret. You'd be like, do not go in my room. Like, emphasize do not. And then have like a little pause after it. Yeah, that would do it. はい。です。次。That's when so and so. その時こそが〇〇だ。So Anzai sensei says that's the game is over if you give up. So that's when the game is over. なんだろう That's when. The game is over if you give up ではなく That's when を使いこてで諦めた瞬間イコール試合終了の瞬間というタイミングの強調になる。だから it makes it a little bit of an equation. You know, the full sentence becomes like an equation, you know. That's when. だからなんて使えばいいんだろう他の時に。That's when. That's when. 他に何で使えるかないつ使えるかな That's じゃあ let's say you're walking in front of a house and they have like a big Doberman, like a huge dog, and you always run past the house, but you'd be like, oh, you don't have to run past the house right now, but when the gates are open, that's when you run. 本当なんか大きい犬がいる家の前をいつも怖いから走ってたけど、いやまだ走んなくて大丈夫だけどゲートがもし開いてたらその時が走る時だよの That's when ちょっとね 何々があったら何々する時だよの時に that's when って使いますね。Other times you can use it is, let's say you are first year, a freshman in high school, and you know your GPA, your grades aren't very good, and you're like stressed about it. Your teacher might be like, you know what, your GPA doesn't really matter right now, but if your GPA stays like this until your senior year, that's when you should feel rushed みたいな。なんか高校1年生の時、まだ通知表1とかあって、でもまだ1学期だし焦らなくて大丈夫。だけどこのままの成績が高3までなら、その時は焦るべきだねみたいな、本当その時はみたいな感じで使ってください。はい。Now looking at the pronunciation, we're going to say the phrase again. まずは日本語で。最後まで希望は捨てちゃあいかん。諦めたらそこで試合終了だよ。So in English, until the very end, do not give up hope. If you give up, that's when the game is over. はい。どこが難しいかな？ That's when, until the very end. I don't think there's a specific phrase that is very hard to pronounce in this week's phrase, but to give you guys some advice, like I said before, if you want to emphasize do not, put a pause in between it, like do not give up hope. 一回このフレーズ言ってみてもらってもいいですか？ I'm going to try listening to a Japanese person saying it first.
Until the very end, do not give up hope. If you give up, that's when the game is over.
Oh, so there's two these in this sentence. So until the very end, and that's when the game is over. So like I said, you can just hear my pronunciation is different. Until the very end, when the game is over. So there's a difference between the and the. Why is it different until the very end? You can say it either way. I could be like, until the very end, do not give up hope. It's if you give up hope, that's when the game is over. I could say it like that. But usually I think if there's a word with A-E-I-O-U, after the word the, it would be the ですよね。はい。So if any sentence starts with A-E-I-O-U, usually your pronunciation goes to the. You can still say the, but I feel like it's easier to say the because it doesn't connect ですね。だから the と the。日本の方ってあんまりなんか the 使わないがちな気がします。みんななんか the って言ってるんですけど、はい。the もめちゃくちゃポピュラーなので、使い分けできたらもっと英語ネイティブになるので頑張ってください。はい。あと今聞いて思ったのが that's もやっぱ that's なんか D みたいに聞こえちゃうので when you pronounce that's really bite your tongue like the so pretend you have a stun gun. はい。a taser. You pretend you have a taser and you're tasing somebody like the sound you make is what you should use when you pronounce that. So that's, yeah. So you're zapping somebody. です。
アニメイングリッシュクラブ with サリー・アマキ。
Alright, next section. So actually, for those who have watched the Slam Dunk anime, there's a part where you can naturally pick up some English, and that's in the eye catches between part A and part B of the episode. They don't really do eye catches much these days, do they? しないですよね。最近アイキャッチあんまないですよね。なんかこんな感じの。Yeah, so eye catches were really, really popular. I mean, I'm pretty sure they still do eye catches in some anime still to this day, but it was like majority of the anime used to do it back in the days, right? Yeah. So there's like this little either a mini animation or like a little mini illustration in between the anime. Like the anime is usually parted into part A and part B, but in between that during the commercial break, they'd have this little eye catch. But yeah, in Slam Dunk, they used to do these mini characters speaking English, or not the characters speaking English, but the narration was in English. So we're gonna take a look at one of those. So 1. みんなスラムダンク前半面白かった？バスケって最高、一緒にやろうよっていうのを Hi guys, the first part of Slam Dunk was fun, wasn't it? Basketball is great. Let's play it together. はいって言われてるんですけど、これ私が見るにLet's play it together 一緒にやろうよは Let's play together でも大丈夫だなと思います。 Let's play it together. Let's play together. なんか Let's play it together だとなんかそれ一緒にやろうよみたいなイットが入ることになっちゃうので、全然おかしくはないんですけど、全然一緒に遊ぼうぐらいのテンションだったら Let's play together でも大丈夫です。でもどっちでも大丈夫ですね。はい。Next みんなついに花道がコートで活躍するよ。チャンネルはそのまま。So in English, Hi guys, finally Hanamichi will put on the show on the court. Let you remain. I actually have a thing to say about this. I wouldn't use let you remain. I don't even think that's correct grammar. I would say stay tuned. I usually say that a lot. Stay tuned or tune in. はい。は、チャンネルはそのままは stay。そのままが stay ですね。で、tuned は、フォーカスをそのままみたいな感じの意味なので、はい。stay tuned. Or, keep your channel as is. 直訳だったら、keep your channel as is. As is はそのまま。なんかもう動かさないでみたいな。keep it as is. As is ですね。でもなんかテレビとかラジオとかやっぱその聞きに来てねとかそのまま聞いてねとかそのまま見ててねのニュアンスは stay tuned の方がいいと思います。はい。でも皆さん、はい。
Don't change that dial.
あ、そうですね。Don't change the channel. Don't change the channel もはい、ありますね。でも Don't change the channel だとチャンネル変えないでねなのでちょっとだけ直訳ではなくなりますね。でもニュアンスは Don't change the channel or keep the channel as is とかですね。はい。次。バスケしようよみんな。ボールを持ってゴールへ向かうと、まるで風になった気分。So in English, let's play basketball, guys. You'll feel like the wind when you've got the ball and go to the basket. Like it's not wrong, but it doesn't feel right. Also in this case, みんなのことを guys って言ってるんですけど、英語だと全然なんかみんなのこと全然 guys 男女問わず性別関係なしに guys というので、hey guys とかなんか使うので guys はこういった感じでなんかみんなって使うときは性別は特に関係ないです。はい。So let's play basketball, guys. What feels weird about this? You'll feel like the when you've got the ball and go to the basket. I feel like it's the last half. If you go to the or when you go to the basket with the ball in your hand, you'll feel like the wind. I feel like that's a better grammar, don't you think?なんだろうなんで最後の and go to the basket がおかしく聞こえるんだろうなんかちょっとおかしい You feel like the wind when you've got the ball and go to the basket なんかいや間違ってないんですよ別に You feel like the wind when you've got the ball and go to the basket It's not wrong but it feels wrongちなみにIt's not wrong but it feels wrong はいろんなところで使いまして間違ってないんだけど間違って聞こえるとか変じゃないんだけど変な気持ちってなんかちょっと法には触れてない悪さするときになんかみんなちょっと海外の人たち使う時がありますねとかあとちょっとなんだろうギリこのアニメのこのシーンって見ていいのかなみたいなこれちょっとなんか誰かのプライベート覗いてるみたいな感じの気持ちになるときは I mean, it's not wrong, but it feels wrong みたいな。なんか、やっちゃいけないことじゃないんだけど、なんかやっちゃいけない気持ちになるみたいな、なんか感じによく使います。It's not wrong, but it feels wrong. はい。ですね。Next. 最高の動き、彼女に見せてやろう。ベストを尽くせば勝ち負けなんて関係ないさ。So in English, let's show your girl your best move. It doesn't matter if you win or lose, as long as you give it your best. はい。これはそのまんまですね。But as long as you は結構使うフレーズですね。So for instance, you know, it doesn't matter if you win or lose as long as you give it your best, or it doesn't matter if you didn't read the textbook as long as you understand the assignment とかなんかそのas long as you はでも日本語の直訳で言うと何なんでしょう。まあでもせばつまむと本当せばのところです。何々まあベストを尽くしたなら勝ち負けなんて関係ないさみたいなニュアンスじゃないですか。だから何々したならとか何々すれば結果は関係ないよみたいな、そのしたならばのところが as long as you の部分ですね。英語で言うと。はい。伝わりましたか？ Next。中学生の5人に1人はバスケをやっているんだって。知ってた？ One out of every 5 junior high students plays basketball. Did you know that? はい。これ、間違ってないんですけど、英語にするとしたら、I would probably be like, did you know that 1 out of every 5 junior high school students plays basketball? みたいな、なんか、最初に did you know ってつけますね。はい。Did you know that? が最後につくと、結構なんか、グラマー的に、文法的には間違ってないんですけど、結構なんか、日本語の文だなって感じがしますね。結構最初にクエスチョンが来た方がしっくりくると思います。次。お待たせ。スラムダンク後半間もなく始まるよ。テレビの前に集まろう。So in English, thanks for waiting. The second part of Slam Dunk will start in a minute. Let's get together in front of TV. So in this case, you would say, let's get together in front of the TV. The が必要ですね。はい。この TV の前に the が必要です。in front of TV, in front of. これ、なぜ the が必要なのかというと、TV が1個しかないので、複数形だったら the がいらないんですけど、なんか1個っていうか単体のものを表すときは the が必要ですね。Let's get together in front of the TV. はい。って言います。ですよね。Let's get together in front of televisions. そうですね。複数形だったら the はいらないんですけど、単体だったら the は必要です。はい。次。もし片手でボールをつかめたら、君はすごいバスケ選手になれるよ。So in English, it said, if you can hold the ball in a hand, you'll be a great basketball player. This too, I wouldn't really say if you can hold the ball in a hand. Like that sounds a bit weird. You would say, if you can hold the basketball with one hand. なんか片手でつかめたならですね。ball in a hand. なんかこのニュアンスだと if you can hold the ball in a hand なんかなんだろう掴んでるというよりかはなんかボールをなんだろう抱えてるみたいなちょっとなんか動画で見てる方はわかると思うんですけど上からじゃなくて下から持ち上げてるみたいな感じのニュアンスになりますね in a hand ってなるとはいです Next 頑張ろう仲間と一緒ってかっこいい So in English let's go for it It's cool to be with your brothers So in this case I guess they chose brothers for Nakama I feel if you remember in the past AEC episodes, we had trouble translating the word Nakama because it's such like, it changes depending on the scenario. Yeah. So, but in this case, I feel like they used brothers due to the cultural context, I guess. If I do remember, in my high school, people who played basketball called each other bros, or like, yeah, he's my brother, or he's my bros, So he's like, they're not actually blood related, but if you feel a strong emotional connection with them, you can say brothers. Same with sisters as well. You can I would probably call my teammates sisters as well. If we have overcome some hardships together, we'd be like sisters. はい。なんかありますよね、そういうフレーズ。sisters なんか not by blood とかなんかその血でつながってないそのシスター、その姉妹みたいな。ただそれは別にその義理の姉妹とかそういう意味じゃなくって血はつながってないけど姉とか妹とかシスター、ブラザーのような関係、もう家族みたいな時に使いますね。はい。Next。パスを出せ、誰かが待ってる。信頼こそが友情を勝ち取る鍵なんだ。So in English, pass the ball. Someone is waiting. Trust will be the key to getting his friendship. はい。So I guess what you can get out of this is trust will be the key. はい。結構直訳なんですけど、その信用を勝ち取る鍵なんだと trust will be the key to getting his friendship。直訳してもそのまま伝わります。英語でも、that's the key to success or that's the key to happiness みたいな、なんか幸せをつかむ鍵なんだとか、なんか成功する鍵なんだは key to success, key to happiness。キーは全然英語でも使うので、皆さんも使ってください。そして最後。花道みたいに次々とバスケのテクニックを掴んでいけたらすごいよね。So in English, it's great to pull off basketball techniques one after the other like Hanamichi. So in this case, I would say, なんだろう。Isn't it great or I would say, isn't it great to pull off basketball techniques one after the other like Hanamichi? なんかこのすごいよねの語りかけてるがゆえに、この英文だと、逆になんかバスケのテクニックを掴んでいけたらすごいみたいな言い切っちゃってるので、このすごいよねのニュアンスを入れたいなら、isn't it? とかちょっと質問風味にしないと直訳にはならないですね。はい。でもこのすごいよねのテンションがもし、その、すごいよねの方のちょっと下げた、言い切った感じにするんだったら、今のままでもいいんですけど、日本語ってその、よねって入れたら結構問いかけてる感じしますか？であれば、Isn't it great to pull off basketball techniques one after the other like Hanamichi? なんか画面の向こうの皆さんに問いかけてる感じの共感を得ようとしてる感じだったら Isn't it? ってつけてください。だからなんだろう Isn't it a beautiful day today? はなんか今日は素敵な日じゃないとか素敵な天気じゃないみたいな問いかけてるんですけど Today's a great day だったら今日は素敵な日みたいな言い切っちゃうのでなんかだよねみたいなちょっと聞きたいときは Isn't it? ってつけてください。はい。And that does it for this week's episode. I feel like we went through a lot of phrases. So, I don't know, relax your brain a bit. はい。今週めっちゃなんか使えるフレーズいっぱいあったので、はい。ぜひともまた一から聞いてくださるともっと勉強になると思います。So that is it for this episode of the Anime English Club. Next episode, we are going to continue exploring Slam Dunk. はい。You can listen to Anime English Club as a podcast and on YouTube, where you can follow along with transcripts and subtitles. You can adjust the speed however you want and listen as many times as you need to get comfortable with English. Listening over and over is really the key to mastering any language. For Japanese and English subtitles, go to youtube.com/@anime-english-club or just search by the title. And the Anime English Club wants to hear from you. Please let us know any anime you'd like us to cover. And for specific lines, please tell us whose line it is and which episode it's from. Or just any general English questions we want to hear from you. So please email us at aec@1242.com. That is aec@1242.com. You can email me in either Japanese or English. メールは日本語でも英語でも大丈夫です。ということで皆さん来週もぜひともスラムダンク一緒に盛り上がってくださると嬉しいです。まためちゃくちゃいっぱい使えるフレーズ教えたいと思いますので Stay tuned! Bye! From the Nippon Hoso podcast station, this is the Anime English Club, hosted by me, Sally Amaki. This episode was written by Naoki Nakamura, edited by Naoki Yamazaki, directed by Hiroshi Kochi, all from Waltz Inc. Our executive producer is Shiori Tanaka for Nippon Broadcasting System Japan.